we've seen so far here. We're also going to answer some of yours. So if you have any, if you want to jump in and try to play Stump the Chump a little bit here, don't hesitate. Throw your hand in the air and we'll be able to get to your questions as well. But maybe first to start off, Kelly, can you give an overview of quantum readiness? What maybe people need to know and take back to their own organizations from a high level?
The important thing here on two levels is quantum migration in a real size company, like a really significant company, takes about 5 years, 3 to 5 years at best. That's one really important takeaway, is it's much better to do this planned than when you have to do it, when you're mandated to do it, or when there's been some kind of a major breach.
That's what absolutely. And that's
the other thing that's really important is when we talk about harvest now, decrypt later. How many of you are familiar with the concept? Harvest now, decrypt later. Okay, so all the stuff that we've trusted to go through the ether that's all encrypted will be unencrypted in a few years. Do we know when that day is? No. We don't know when Q day is here. And no one's got the incentive to tell us when Q day arrives. The adversaries definitely don't benefit from disclosure. So they're harvesting our data now. And they will decrypt it when they have quantum computers. So this is not a security issue as much as it's a modernization issue. We're going after modernization, regular technology refresh budget. It's not a security thing. This is an everything.
Yeah, I've always viewed quantum readiness as a bit of a continuum, where you've got awareness on one end and just being aware of the problems, the challenges, the opportunities. Then you've got the actual preparedness stage. And then finally, after you've done all that, you've got the actual implementation stage. And knowing, I guess, Kelly, that every organization has their own priorities and their own mandates that they have to comply with, even with that generality, do you think, given the state of the industry, companies should be in a particular phase in terms of just awareness versus readiness versus implementation today?
What you're going to see people talking about here at this conference is you need to get your crypto bill of materials together. You need to know where your crypto is. Let's think about that for a second. If you start from the business side first, and you go after the most important data that you're protecting first, that's the way to build a crypto material. Lock that down now, because the standards are here. The VPNs that are CSA 2.0 ready are here. So you can lock down your attack surface now, then get back to filling out your crypto bill of materials, because how much shadow crypto do we have in our environments? None of us knows, but all of us have it. So start small, think smart.
You know, I like that, kind of easing into it, not saying, all right, we've got to rip the Band-Aid off and do everything right here, right now, but rather finding out what's most important to your organization, what data is the most critical, maybe what mandates that are there that you have to comply with. I guess maybe another question related to that. So let's say an organization or a practitioner wants to start implementing post-quantum cryptography and identifier. Let's say they want to start this journey, whether it relates to awareness or readiness or anything like that. But they go talk to the board, and the board says, well, there's no mandate, there's nothing forcing us to do it, so let's defer. Like, how would you equip someone to handle that kind of pushback?
I think the first thing is to avoid crypto washing, which is when vendors start spewing all kinds of point solutions that are going to solve this. You really want to step back from that for a second. And again, thinking about it as a modernization technology refresh that we've got to do, start just allocating the quantified budget, assemble the right team, have those people go through an educational process, and have them start building the project plans that roll up into a program that you can manage over 2 to 3 years. Then you take it to the board. Then you've got a package for them and say, well, this is how we start. This is what we do first, next, after that. They'll buy into it. Now, if you wait until you're mandated, then you're forklifting, you're hiring expensive consultants like several of you guys over there, a couple of you guys over there. You're just waiting in the wings for that money, and then everybody, it's a fire drill, right? That's not how we run our businesses. It's not panic.
I think, Kelly, you raised a really good point. And it's almost counterproductive for me as a vendor to say this, but quite honestly, right now is not the time to go and buy a bunch of hardware and throw it in there. Like, as much as we'd love to take the money for that, like, you need to have a plan first. And like Kelly was saying, that might not be a plan measured in weeks to months. That might be a plan that's measured in months to years in order to really do this, because this is going to be long term. This is not just switching to PQC algorithms for tomorrow, right? This is going to be switching to PQC algorithms over the long haul, but also developing crypto agility as well.
Right. Yeah, crypto agility. People are going to talk about that. Hybrid is only going to work for so long. So you want to know exactly how much impact this is going to have on your network in terms of bandwidth. I mean, you want to keep it under 15% increase because the size of these keys is so much bigger, right? So you've got to get a lot of considerations here. You're absolutely right. You know, you just start slow but start effectively. If you're migrating now, you're going to save a lot of money and a lot of headache than if you wait until you absolutely have to do it.
This is true. So I wanted to open up, see if anybody in the audience had any questions, any thoughts, anything that you'd like to hear our expert here, Kelly, weigh in on. I will say, while anybody is thinking about questions, throw your hand up in the air. But I did want to put in a little plug for Kelly's book here. That he just came out this on Friday, right?
Right.
So Kelly does have a book here that he I think might be able to share a little more information about.
Yeah, I'm not selling the book. It's for, I'm giving it to people who want to talk to us about how to do stuff, how to get things done, how it works. We're happy to do that.
Yeah. So organization is a losers. It's people for things that do educated about quantum how holistically you have to be able to do it.
The question is, in your organization, do you go after a particular group of people to talk about quantum? I mean, is this security operations? Is this, absolutely start at the executive level and brief them, give them a checklist they can work from so that they understand. We're not going to teach them about lattice algorithms and all that stuff. We just want to teach them about what the risk is that we all face now, all of us universally are facing. So then they can say, all right, let's go ahead and pick a person from a stakeholder from each business unit to all get together. They all work together to develop their program so that you've got something to march to for the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point you raised about getting stakeholders from each business unit across the organization. This is not something that can just be managed in the silo. I think that's a very good point to make. What else? Any other questions? Anything like that?
Thank you. It's important. You wouldn't want things like circuit or each other. We need to speak out and it's about the process.
Okay, the question here is, when are compliance standards going to matter, right? So, I mean, Australia is several years ahead of everybody else. They're 2030. For hybrid, you've got till 2035. You can deprecate some things. I've got a lot of information about this stuff if anybody's really serious about knowing it. But the standards are here now, right? CNSA 2.0, NIST standards 102, 103, they're here now. So you can bank on that stuff. Now, crypto agility means we know that things are going to change. We're pouring water into a moving bucket, essentially. It's going as fast as you can imagine. We see, alternative intelligence news every week, and we go, oh my, that's great. Crypto is a whole different world when it comes to quantum and how fast that's going to change. So agility is really, really important. Thanks, that's a good question.
Yeah, I think to add on that, one of the things I find most interesting about the world of quantum computing in general is that we can make predictions and, you can kind of put a finger, put it there and say, all right, it's going to be 2030 or maybe 2040 or maybe whenever. But there's a lot that is unknown. And there could be a lot of surprises out there. We could wake up one day and say, oh, guess who has a quantum computer with enough qubits to pose real risks to public key cryptography, right? That's what you need to prepare for, is being aware.
Derek.
You think there's basically all the money basically talking about incomes.
That's a good question. So the question was, do you think the first nation state to build a quantum computer that is cryptographically relevant will tell us? No.
they have a perverse incentive to not tell us. The adversary doesn't benefit by letting us know what's going on. They benefit by no disclosure. So we have to be prepared for that without a doubt.
And I think that's a really, really salient comment there, because I think when you talk about the surprises that come out in the world of quantum computing, I think that the nation state angle could be a very likely source of some of those surprises.
One thing I do want to mention about the harvest now, decrypt later issue is think about this. There's really no forensic evidence that that data has been taken. So really locking that down now, data in transit, find something that's going to help you reduce your attack surface now, because it's being harvested. When and where they get it open and what they found is anybody's guess. But it's happening now, so.
Absolutely. Well, as we start to wrap up the conversation here, I've got one more question here.
You have suggested strategies in sorting out, well, this data, I don't care if it goes public in 6 months. This data, I care if it goes public in 5 years.
One thing we're finding out, the question is, what data do I have to be worried about 4 years from now, 5 years from now? On my crib sheet, I've got a little list that I wanted to cover because I wanted to be sure to get all of them. Got some pretty cool things on here. So you think about genomics and biometrics, right? You think about PHI, personal health information. That's the most valuable data that's on the dark web today. That sells for the highest price because they don't care about your kidneys and your liver. They care about all that personal information that they can triangulate, that they can exploit. Your VPN keys, your PKI infrastructure. Legal archives never expire. I want to leave you with this. The keys and the tunnels, the VPN tunnels, if any of those get slightly open, it's the keys of the kingdom. Then they can traverse your entire network. So it's all happening right now. Let's not kid ourselves. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, Kelly, any last thoughts you want to leave with as we wrap up here?
This migration is on your timeline. If you were not waiting for Q-Day, it's not like Y2K where we're working back from a hard date. We're not. Do it on your timeline. It's going to be more effective, less panic, and you're going to be a lot more assured. And that's what this is about. Risk is not our adversary. It's not the terrain that we work in, right? So let's address it. Let's embrace it. Let's go with this. All right?
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Kelly. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having us today.